There's a reason some archaeologists won't give interviews. It's not because they didn't find anything. It's because after what happened, they don't want to say the wrong thing out loud. Because some discoveries didn't just come with artifacts. They came with warnings. Warnings carved into stone. Warnings passed down through generations. Warnings written in blood. And the people who ignored them paid for it. Archaeology is built on one simple idea, that the past is silent, that ancient civilizations are gone, their gods forgotten, their fears outdated. But across cultures and continents, one thing keeps appearing again and again: curses. Not superstitions, not legends meant to scare grave robbers, but very specific warnings about what would happen if certain places were disturbed. Most archaeologists will laugh them off until the accidents start. Tonight, these are the ancient curses archaeologists refuse to talk about. Because once you hear them, you understand why some doors were never meant to be opened. Story 1. The Curse Inside the Pyramid, Egypt. The idea of the mummy's curse has been mocked for decades, but archaeologists who've worked in Egypt will tell you, quietly, that something about it was very real. After the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922, a pattern emerged. Not instantly, not dramatically, slowly. Lord Carnarvon, the expedition's financier, died from an infected mosquito bite shortly after entering the tomb. Then others followed. Illness, sudden accidents, unexplained fevers. By the time the media noticed, more than a dozen people connected to the excavation were dead. Most archaeologists today insist it was coincidence. But here's what rarely gets mentioned. Inside several Egyptian tombs, inscriptions were found, not threats, but instructions. Warnings about imbalance, about disturbing the resting order, about consequences not meant as punishment, but as inevitability. One modern Egyptologist admitted anonymously that while working in a lesser-known tomb, he felt a crushing pressure in his chest every time he crossed the threshold. When he stopped entering the chamber, the symptoms vanished. He still won't step inside sealed tombs alone. Story 2. The Black Sarcophagus of Alexandria. In 2018, a massive black granite sarcophagus was discovered in Alexandria, Egypt. It had never been opened. The internet joked about curses. Scientists rolled their eyes. Then they opened it. Inside was foul, red-brown liquid, water mixed with decomposed remains. 3 skeletons lay submerged. Shortly after the opening, several members of the team reported severe headaches, nausea, and panic attacks. One worker collapsed on site. Officials dismissed it as stress. But here's the part that never made headlines. Local workers refused to return to the site. They said the sarcophagus had been sealed for a reason. And once opened, something had been released. Story 3. The Curse of King Casimir, Poland. In the 1970s, archaeologists opened the tomb of King Casimir IV of Poland. Within a decade, over a dozen people involved in the excavation were dead. Heart attacks, strokes, sudden illnesses. At first, scientists blamed mold, specifically Aspergillus flavus, a rational explanation. But one detail didn't fit. Several victims had never entered the tomb itself. They'd only handled artifacts or read documentation. One historian reportedly refused to finish his paper after experiencing recurring nightmares of a crowned figure standing at the foot of his bed. The curse was dismissed publicly. Privately, access to the tomb was restricted for years. Story 4. The Mayan curses no one translated. Mayan ruins are filled with warnings, not vague threats, but timelines, descriptions of imbalance, of sickness following desecration, of entire bloodlines being erased. In the 20th century, archaeologists working at remote jungle sites in Central America began reporting strange patterns. Healthy team members fell ill without explanation. Equipment malfunctioned constantly. One excavation leader vanished briefly during a jungle survey, found hours later, wandering aimlessly, unable to explain where he'd been. Local guides refused to continue. They said the site had already been disturbed once, and it did not forgive twice. Story 5. The Iceman's Shadow, the Alps. Ötzi the Iceman was discovered in 1991, perfectly preserved in alpine ice. He was over 5,000 years old. Scientists celebrated. Then people connected to the discovery began dying. The man who found Ötzi died in a blizzard years later on the same mountain. The forensic pathologist died in a car accident. A journalist covering the story died suddenly. At least 7 deaths were linked. Again, coincidence, experts said. But one researcher reported something chilling. He claimed that while studying Ötzi's wounds late at night, he felt a presence behind him. Cold, patient, watching. Story 6. The Cursed Graves of Siberia. In Siberia, archaeologists uncovered ancient burial mounds belonging to a forgotten nomadic culture. Inside were skeletal remains arranged in unnatural positions. Warnings were found, translated roughly as, "Do not wake the sleepers." Shortly after excavation began, a sudden storm destroyed part of the site. Then came the accidents, frostbite in mild weather, navigation errors, equipment failure. One team member refused to sleep near the site after claiming he heard voices chanting from beneath the frozen ground. The dig was abandoned. Official reason: funding. Unofficial reason: no one wanted to stay. Why archaeologists don't talk about curses. Publicly, curses don't exist. Privately, many archaeologists follow rules they'll never admit to. They don't whistle in tombs. They don't joke inside burial chambers. They don't take artifacts home. They apologize out loud. Not because they believe in magic, but because too many patterns repeat. Too many warnings align with consequences. And too many people who ignored them didn't walk away unchanged. Final story. The site that erased its discoverer. Chamber beneath a ruined temple. The inscriptions weren't threatening. They were pleading. Do not open. Do not witness. Do not remember. The chamber was opened anyway. What was inside has never been released. But the lead archaeologist resigned immediately afterward. He destroyed his notes, refused interviews, and to this day, his name does not appear in any official publication, as if the site itself erased him. We like to believe curses are primitive thinking, that ancient people didn't understand science. But what if they understood something else? Something about balance, about disturbance, about consequences that don't need belief to function. Because whether you call it a curse or a chain reaction set in motion, the result is the same. Some things were buried to stay buried, and some warnings weren't meant to scare you. They were meant to protect you from what happens after.